If you pay close attention to the beginning of Chapter 1, there's an interesting exchange between Ayanokoji and Chairman Sakayanagi. What stands out is how the chairman isn't really surprised by Ayanokoji's intention to transfer classes. Ayanokoji even mentions that Atsuomi must have already informed him, and notably, Ayanokoji doesn't seem surprised by that either. This subtle moment actually supports a theory I mentioned before, that Ayanokoji intentionally told Atsuomi about his plan, knowing it would be used as leverage to lure Koenji out. And while Koenji doesn't take any major action in this volume, it's still impressive to see how Ayanokoji lays the groundwork so precisely, always thinking several steps ahead. It's a shame we didn't get Koenji in action, but there are a lot of other things that we need to think about in this volume. Let's take a look at it one by one. Ayanokoji didn't leave his former class without any care for the world, but he planned every single detail to get the most impact from his transfer. He didn't transfer right away after the school started, but he came to his former class in the morning and then transferred after the opening ceremony. He gave a false sense of security to his former classmates, making them think everything would be fine as usual, but then he switched classes and burned the calm atmosphere to the ground. This is a little detail that I found, but I think the real reason why Ayanokoji chose to transfer after the opening ceremony is to not hinder Horikita's performance while giving a speech in the opening ceremony. If he transfers before the ceremony, it will disturb Horikita's performance as student council president, and it might be bad for her reputation in the future. Ayanokoji really paid extra attention to Horikita because he knew Horikita would be the one who would be affected the most. He made sure to keep the alliance with Ichinose's class a secret so the damage wouldn't be overkill for her. Just like taking a small dose of poison to build immunity, Ayanokoji gave Horikita poison bit by bit to make sure she wouldn't die before getting stronger. It's terrifying to see Ayanokoji could become so cruel and yet so caring at the same time. The way Ayanokoji prepares everything is the proof that he already planned everything carefully, but the only thing he didn't plan is the fact that he will sit in front of Morishita, and he will regret it for the rest of his school life. Speaking of Morishita, her habit of bullying the one who sits in front of her is quite confusing. We know that students' inappropriate behavior will be punished by the deduction of class points, but Morishita seems used to bullying her neighbor to the point the whole class already took pity on Ayanokoji. However, Sakayanagi's class point was always stable at the top, so Morishita's action was considered safe by the school. Maybe the school didn't mind because Morishita did it during self-study time, but it sounds contradictory because it was mentioned several times that the school keeps monitoring students' behavior even during holidays. For now, let's just put it in the gray area and focus on Morishita's side story. Morishita's side story is titled Gatling Gun, and it was a story about Commander Morishita's battle against the evil titan Ayanokoji. At first, it seems like Morishita is just enjoying herself in her own imaginary world, but let's try to dig deeper. Morishita describes Ayanokoji as a villain that she needs to defeat. Considering the way Morishita has a suspicion of Ayanokoji, and considering Ayanokoji's goal, there is a high chance this side story could become a foreshadow where in the future, Ayanokoji and Morishita will take a different path, which I put my bet on a dispute inside the class. This is in line with what Morishita said to Hashimoto at the end of the volume, where she realized that their connection with Ayanokoji is just an alignment of interests, and Ayanokoji only considers his classmates as tools. This possibility becomes even stronger when Morishita stated that in the future, the evil titan that she needs to defeat is not Ayanokoji alone, but also the one who sits beside him, which is Shiroishi. Maybe Shiroishi will take Ayanokoji's side in the future, but there are too many mysterious things about her that we need to be cautious with. The most controversial thing from this new volume is the rumor about Shiroishi having a relationship with 100 men. It's unclear when the rumor started circulating, but so far Nishikawa is the only one who ever brought that story up. However, Shiroishi's side story somehow makes it clear that there was more story behind that rumor. Shiroishi got to side stories in Volume 1 of the third year arc. The first one is titled The Emotion That I Harbor. She mentioned that she made a mistake in the past and needs to be careful to not repeat the same mistake again. This mentioned mistake was probably the reason why Shiroishi got the title of the 100-Man Slayer. Perhaps she got too close with a lot of men, so people started to call her easy, or maybe she intentionally spread the rumor to keep the opposite sex away. One thing for sure is the rumor about her is most likely wrong, because a high schooler with a body count up to 100 is really uncomfortable to think about. The title of Shiroishi's second side story is An Extra Pair of Ears. It was stated that Shiroishi was listening to the conversation between Ayanokoji and Nishikawa when they talked about the rumor. Shiroishi was listening through her phone, so her phone must be connected to someone else's phone through a call, and Nishikawa's phone is the most logical answer for it. Shiroishi wants to know Ayanokoji's opinion about her, so she asks Nishikawa to bring up that topic to see how Ayanokoji would react. Shiroishi stated that Ayanokoji's voice is wonderful, clinical, and colorless. A voice most unsuitable for observation is the one that is impossible to analyze. I don't like how fast she falls for Ayanokoji, but from her description, I think Shiroishi just wants to fill Ayanokoji's voice with emotion, whether it's anger or condemnation. It seems Shiroishi was interested in Ayanokoji because she wanted to corrupt him, or at least wanted to make Ayanokoji experience more emotion and humanize him. Her goal is somehow similar to Sakayanagi's, and it might explain the connection between them. At the end of her short story, Shiroishi mentions Sakayanagi in her monologue, and assures her to leave the rest to her. If we remember Sakayanagi's scene with Ryuwen in volume 12.5, she mentions that she prepared something for Ryuwen as her way to get revenge on Ayanokoji, and Shiroishi might be the one Sakayanagi met at that time. Shiroishi is certainly a new character with a lot of secret. I could say we should expect more from Shiroishi in the future, especially because of her last scene with Tsubasa. Third Year Arc Volume 1 ending drops a really big bomb that will fill this YouTube channel with a lot of theory for the next 3 months. While not exactly unexpected, we finally get a confirmation about Tsubasa's relationship with Tsukishiro, and the fact that Ishigami is not just some random nobody. The scene started with Tsubasa getting a call from Tsukishiro while Hashimoto, Morishita, and Shiroishi were hiding from her. They ended up overheard Tsubasa's conversation about her role as an observer, and there are 3 things that need to be noted from her short call. First, Tsubasa had been wary of Ishigami. She made sure that Ishigami enrolled at ANHS not just to live a quiet life, but because he had been assigned a special role by someone. This one sentence made it clear that Tsubasa and Ishigami are not in the same faction. Ishigami had been shown to have a connection with Atsuomi, so there is a chance Tsubasa is not actually on Atsuomi's side, but a double agent from Tsukishiro. And like the White Room students, Tsubasa's background is full of mystery. She knows about the White Room to some extent, but her mission to enroll at ANHS is still unclear. There is a chance she was actually sent by Atsuomi, but was completely clueless about Ishigami. But the way she reported her observation to Tsukishiro told us that Tsukishiro also had no clue about Ishigami. If that is the case, there is only one possibility left, which is that Tsubasa is an agent sent by Kijima, and Tsukishiro is a double agent who works for Atsuomi and Kijima at the same time. Atsuomi knew about this, so he sent Ishigami as his insurance. This theory sounds good, but we need to wait for more clues to draw a conclusion. The second point from Tsubasa's conversation is that there is a first-year student who caught Tsubasa's attention. There are only 2 possibilities: either it's an agent sent by Atsuomi or another agent sent by Kijima. If Tsubasa is really an agent from Kijima's side, she should have been informed about it, but it turns out Tsubasa had no clue, so the chance is the new first-year student is someone sent by Atsuomi. The freshman could be a White Room student, or maybe someone truly unexpected. And the last point we need to focus on is the fact that Tsukishiro calls Tsubasa in the middle of the day. This is really important because what Tsukishiro did feels really stupid and unnecessary. Calling Tsubasa in the middle of the day has a lot of risk of getting caught. Not to mention Tsubasa's action of bringing both of her phones in her daily activity is actually dumb for her level. It's not like they live in a different time zone, so communicating at night should be the best action for both of them. If we agree that Tsukishiro and Tsubasa are not that dumb, that leaves us with another possibility, which is that Tsubasa intentionally let herself be overheard by Hashimoto and the others. This theory doesn't make any sense because it's impossible for Tsubasa to know when Morishita will be visiting the student council room. However, this is where Shiroishi looks so suspicious. First, she forced herself to follow Morishita to the student council room. Second, someone made a small noise that made Tsubasa aware of their presence, and that someone could be Shiroishi. And the third, it was specifically mentioned that Tsubasa shifted her gaze toward Shiroishi as if she was assessing her. Not to mention it was Shiroishi who advised them to not follow Tsubasa because she thought Tsubasa seemed quite sensitive to her surroundings. It took some time for them to reach the student council room, so there should be plenty of chances for Shiroishi to send a message to Tsubasa. The way Tsubasa is still in the student council room asking for Horikita's guidance might be her way to buy some time. And if you read carefully, there is no sign of an incoming call from Tsubasa's second phone. Maybe she put it on vibration mode, but Horikita should have realized it in such a close distance. Speaking of Horikita, Tsubasa got a call from her in less than a minute after they parted, and once again, there is no sign of an incoming call, even from her first phone. And yet, Tsubasa acts as if she really talks to them. It's easy to get suspicious that Tsubasa is just acting so Ayanokoji's classmates will realize there is something suspicious about Ayanokoji. And fortunately, I don't know what the reason is behind that action. It could be Tsubasa's strategy to expose Ayanokoji and his past, which is somehow connected with some scene in this volume, such as Ichino teasing Ichika, or Ayanokoji suddenly remembering Yuki. However, Shiroishi's involvement is way more suspicious. Shiroishi has some kind of promise with Sakayanagi, and now Shiroishi has a connection with Tsubasa, which is connected to Tsukishiro. If we look back at volume 12.5, Sakayanagi stated that she has a business outside the school that has something to do with Ayanokoji. If we try to connect the dots, maybe Sakayanagi already contacted Tsukishiro on the outside, and Tsukishiro called Tsubasa to build a connection with Shiroishi. As for the reason why Sakayanagi asked Tsukishiro for help, it could tie to the bigger political world. We know that Chairman Sakayanagi is part of the Kijima faction, and since the Kijima faction has a hostile relationship with Atsuomi, maybe Sakayanagi will ask for their help to protect Ayanokoji after he leaves the school. I know this theory sounds weak, but it's not impossible to happen. There is also a chance the whole Tsubasa conversation is just a lazy writing to force the story forward, but for the sake of the story, let's hope that Shiroishi will get a really important role in the story. If not, she will end up just like the rest of the girls, just a fan service that doesn't reduce anything even if they are gone.